see that in the same week that a 16-year-old girl had her face slammed into the concrete by ICE because she was brought here as a minor into the United States by her parents, that our taxpayer dollars are simultaneously being spent on an expedited refugee process for white people in South Africa, where they only make up 10% of the population, but they own 96% of the fucking land. Are you kidding me?
Welcome back, guys. In this video, we're going to be seeing Americans reacting to Trump's decision to bring in white South African refugee into America. Here we have Americans reacting in diverse ways. You see some in support, while some are definitely not in support of Trump's decision. Guys, do you actually think Trump's decision to bring in white South Africans into America as refugees is a political move? Or do you actually think there are other agendas that triggered Trump's decision to bring in Afrikaners into America? Guys, let's share our thoughts in the comment, guys, as we see other videos. Guys, do well to subscribe if you have not. Also drop a like. Let's see other videos.
It only took 49 Afrikaners to completely break the internet in South Africa, across the world, and in the United States of America. I personally have not met any of those that have come over as refugees since the 12th of May. But you know what? I do share one commonality with those 49 Afrikaners that have come over from South Africa to America. And that commonality is waking up in a country where you are loved, where you are cherished, and where you are safe. There is a very, very good feeling in a man's heart when you know you can wake up and you don't have burglar bars and alarms surrounding you. You know your children are in bed safely, not murdered or raped. You know that you do not have to live behind a 10-foot fence like you do in South Africa, not to keep wild animals out, but to keep wild people that have been sent by the government to murder and kill you and fearmonger you if you own property. So the land compensation where in South Africa, where the government wants to steal land, really put us over the boiling point. That's why we're seeing the refugees come to America. And although there were only 49 on the first flight, we can expect thousands more fleeing from a communist pagan state known as South Africa, run by Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC Communist Loving Party. The freedoms of our people are important, and all the people that are coming to America from South Africa will thrive. You will have refugees that will have degrees in engineering. They will be doctors, they will be farmers, they will be nurses, they will be pharmacists, they will be much, much more than your normal refugee, because these are people who are educated, God-fearing Christians who love the Lord, who have been persecuted based on the color of their skin. Now Americans have embraced them, and they continue to embrace them. There is a beautiful buzz around America. I'm here in the South, and everyone's asking me, are your family coming over? Are your friends coming over? And I say to them, yes, many of them are coming over. My phone is absolutely blown up, and I'm just giving some positive news. So go out there, fill in the form of interest that the US Embassy in South Africa has sent you. Fill it in and trust God that He will look after you, because the land of the free is waiting for all those who want to come from South Africa to America and enjoy peace and freedom, something that we have not enjoyed for 31 years in South Africa. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask us on X or Facebook or everywhere you see us. Come on and support the South Africans, as we know this is a huge time, and the unknown is something that makes a person very fearful. But do not be afraid, for God is in charge, people.
The population in South Africa is 90% black, but black people in South Africa only own 4% of privately owned land in the entire country. But somehow Trump is convinced that these 59 white South African refugees deserve to be housed and fed on the taxpayer dollar in the United States because they were being discriminated against in their home country. It makes me so fucking sick to see that in the same week that a 16-year-old girl had her face slammed into the concrete by ICE because she was brought here as a minor into the United States by her parents, that our taxpayer dollars are simultaneously being spent on an expedited refugee process for white people in South Africa.
Send in private planes to pick up 8,000 Caucasian South African refugees, when we're kicking people out that are in the middle of their immigration proceedings here in the US now, literally having people show up for their final steps of their immigration process and having them arrested, detained, and deported. It doesn't make any sense to me unless
how racist this new administration truly is. This is some of the most racist shit I've ever heard of. In 1913, South Africa had white supremacists running the country, and they created apartheid, which created segregation and discrimination laws against black South Africans. It was whites only South African businesses, whites only South African movie theaters, whites only South African swimming pools. South Africa was on that racist shit just like America treated black folks. So in 1913, white South Africans took over South Africa with force. White South Africans stole land owned by black South Africans. Fast forward to 2025. Three of Trump's biggest supporters are three of the most richest men on the planet. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and David Sachs are three billionaires that fully support Trump. Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, and David Sachs are all white South Africans who were born in South Africa, white supremacy, and apartheid. Elon Musk is a white South African white supremacist. South Africa now has a black president. This South African president wants equality in South Africa. He wants the racism to stop, and he wants everyone to be treated equally. Trump and Elon Musk heard about this black South African president wanting equality. Trump immediately stopped all funding to South Africa. There are only 7% of white people in South Africa, but those white people own 70% of the land in South Africa because they stole most of that land from black South Africans. The new black South African president put a new law in place to right the wrongs that were done to black South Africans that had land stolen from them. Just like when European settlers stole America from the natives. Because the South African president wants to give back land that white South Africans stole from black South Africans, that's why Trump and his administration are saying white South Africans are being persecuted and done wrong. But white South Africans are not under persecution.
I mean, the facts are there is no systematic prosecution of white Afrikaner farmers. For the Trump administration to take the view that there's somehow systematic persecution, it's actually problematic and troublesome and damning on the way the Trump administration is receiving its information.
How are they being prosecuted when they the ones who stole the land from black South Africans? Black South Africans are the ones who originally owned that land. What's so wrong with doing right and giving black South Africans their land back? But see, this is the thing. South Africa is not even seizing land like Donald Trump is saying they are. It's a lawful process that's handled in the courts of South Africa. If someone stole land from you and your family, wouldn't you want it back?
They only want white people here. Because when we think about refugees who need immediate resettlement, expedited screenings, we usually think about people who are fleeing extreme violence, persecution, famine, war in places like South Sudan, Myanmar, the Congo, not white Afrikaners. See that chartered plane the Trump administration is sending? It's not going to collect refugees that have been sitting in resettlement camps for years, fully vetted, waiting to come to the United States to escape violence. No, it's going to South Africa to collect white people who claim they're being discriminated against. Why would they be getting discriminated against? Probably because they spent generations instituting legalized forms of racial segregation and discrimination called apartheid, aka Stephen Miller's wet dream. See, while the rest of the world after World War II saw that maybe racial discrimination not such a hot idea and favored more policies of integration and away from colonization, Afrikaners doubled down on that shit and instituted apartheid. Although it ended over 30 years ago, the social and economic legacies of apartheid continue today. South Africa is the most unequal country in the entire world, according to the World Bank, with white South Africans earning over 12 times what black South Africans do. But don't worry, we're going to make sure that the white Afrikaners who instituted generations of discrimination and segregation against black people get everything they need to get started here in the United States in their new life.
I got an unpopular opinion, but I think that Donald Trump might be the best thing that ever happened to America. And I'm not trolling. Hear me out. See, I didn't say that because I support his politics or praise his policies. I said it because for the first time in a long time, America is being forced to look at itself in the mirror, and it's extremely uncomfortable. Ugly, messy, but necessary. See, Trump didn't invent division, racism, or greed. He just ripped the bandage off the wound that the country's been pretending doesn't exist. And in doing so, he made people who were asleep finally wake up. He made people start asking real questions. Why are rights being stripped away? Why is truth under attack? Why are so many clinging to power when the rest of us can barely afford rent or mortgage? See, this is not about loving or hating Donald Trump. This is about understanding that the chaos that is Trump exposed the fractures in our foundation. And sometimes you gotta break it to rebuild it stronger. And now maybe, just maybe, we'll finally have the discussions about race, history, class, democracy that everybody's been avoiding for decades. So go ahead and drop a comment. Agree, disagree with me, educate me, whatever you want. Because if we don't talk about it now, when will we?
It's so overwhelming to see how Americans are reacting to this. Giving it a second thought, you would understand that, yeah, it's actually coming from a good place, because the same Trump, on the other hand, has brought in so many rules and regulations that has affected the minority in the US, talking about Latinos, Cuba, and so many other Americans that Trump's rules have strictly affected, guys. Right now, it's obvious Americans are not finding it funny, though most of them are in support of Trump's decision. Why a majority as well of Americans are not in support, even looking at some people that are due to be American citizens, okay, that have all their documentations intact, but still Trump decided to deport this set of people back to their home country. Guys, let me know your thoughts considering everything that we've discussed so far and all the videos we've watched and seen so far, guys. Let's not make this video too long. Let's get your thoughts and your views in the comment section, guys. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see you in the comments and on the next one. Bye for now.